Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Forum Daily West. Here are some of the top stories we've been following. An online operation linked to China targets Liberal leader Mark Carney, attacking his experience and credentials. Plus, a 31-year-old man arrested after an incident forcing the lockdown of Parliament Hill Saturday. And it's Green Shirt Day, also known as the Logan Boulet effect, honoring the late Humboldt Bronco hockey player who saved 6 lives by signing his organ donor card. Thanks so much for joining us. Federal security officials are reporting that an online information operation linked to China has targeted Liberal leader Mark Carney. Officials with the Government Security and Intelligence Threats to Elections Task Force says this information was spread on the social media platform WeChat to amplify Carney's stance on the United States and target his experience and credentials.
The site task force assesses that the foreign state-backed information operation was intended to influence Canadian Chinese communities and look to mold perceptions about the candidate. The campaign received high levels of user engagement and views, between 85,000 and 130,000 interactions, and an estimate of 1 to 3 million views. WeChat developer Tencent reports that the platform itself has over 1.3 billion monthly active users, but has not disclosed how many of those users live overseas. The activity saw large spikes of what is believed to be coordinated inauthentic behavior on March 10th and 25th, 2025.
The task force says Carney was informed about this development on Sunday. The news comes as Carney is in BC meeting with Premier David Eby. Before that meeting, Carney made a major environmental announcement.
I'm announcing that a new Liberal government will move forward with 10 new national parks and marine conservation areas, along with creating 15 new national urban parks across Canada. At the same time, we will make national parks and historic sites free for all Canadians this upcoming summer. I know when I was growing up in Edmonton, Jasper National Park, Canada's crown jewel, in my opinion. I know we'll get some debate from behind me, maybe in front of me as well, but my crown jewel, Canada's crown jewel, Jasper National Park, was almost like a second home, and it's certainly where I made lasting memories. But creating new parks and making all our parks more accessible will help ensure that every Canadian will be able to experience the beauty of our great nation, just as I did.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre wrapped up a campaign sweep of the West Coast. He stopped in Terrace, BC earlier today, promising measures to help seniors.
We've proposed to delay by 2 years the time when seniors must withdraw their savings from their RSP and be taxed on it. This 2-year delay will save many seniors from being forced to crystallize losses they're experiencing on the stock market today. We know that seniors should not pay the price for Donald Trump's economic vandalism over the last several days, and that is why we will allow our seniors to keep their money invested until they regain their lost amounts. We've also announced that we will allow seniors who choose to work to earn up to $34,000 tax-free. That's $10,000 more than right now.
Poilievre will be flying into Edmonton for an evening rally in Nisku. Meanwhile, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh has announced a multi-billion-dollar plan to build 3 million affordable homes over the next 5 years. Speaking at a campaign stop Saturday morning in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, Singh promised to ensure all Canadians have a family doctor by 2030. New reports from the Bank of Canada show trade uncertainty is taking its toll on both business and consumer confidence. The central bank's Business Outlook survey says 32% of firms are now planning with the assumption that a recession will happen over the coming year in Canada. That's up from 15% over the past 2 quarters. A 31-year-old man has been charged after an incident that forced the lockdown of Parliament Hill on Saturday. Ottawa police say a man entered East Block in downtown Ottawa just after 2:30 p.m. and started making threats to those inside. They say officers managed to isolate the man in a security screening area while police evacuated the building before he surrendered peacefully after hours of negotiations. He was charged with public mischief and uttering threats to cause property damage, among others. The U.S. stock market spiked upward briefly today over a report that top White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett said the president was considering a 90-day pause on tariffs. Despite the alleged remark circulating on social media, no one could pinpoint where it came from, even as the market flashed from red to green. A short while later, they retreated again and steeped to losses across Bay and Wall Streets. Haskett was asked by Fox News earlier today about a potential pause, but was non-committal in his reply, and a White House account on X later called the reports of Trump considering a tariff pause fake news. Alberta's agriculture minister is off to Washington, D.C. to make the case for North American free trade. R.J. Sigurdson says in a statement that although the April 2nd tariffs announcement from the Trump administration was a positive one for Alberta and Canada for the time being, he says uncertainty remains. He says our relationship with the U.S. needs to be, in his words, re-strengthened. Sigurdson leaves Monday, and his itinerary includes meeting with the National Potato Council, the American Soybean Association, the American Farm Bureau, and the North American Meat Institute. Alberta's UCP government has announced major funding changes it says will shorten surgical wait lists. The government is moving away from the global funding model where a huge lump sum of funding is given to hospitals to pay for surgeries to what's called an activity-based funding model. Hospitals would receive funding based on the services they deliver, and if chartered surgical facilities could do more surgeries more efficiently, they would receive more funding as well.
We'll be looking forward to piloting this funding approach and doing careful analysis in creating our recommendations for the minister. We will work with the health service delivery providers, the new AHS, Covenant Health, and others to ensure that access remains a priority in all settings, including rural sites. It is clear we need a new approach to manage costs in delivering health care while ensuring that Albertans receive the care they expect and the care they deserve. Introducing patient-focused funding into the Alberta healthcare system will bring greater transparency, greater accountability, while providing incentive to provide more care in better places.
The group Friends of Medicare has already given the plan a thumbs down, saying it's just the UCP government moving forward with its plan to use public money to accelerate healthcare privatization. As we're beginning to see election signs pop on private property, it turns out not everyone's all that thrilled by their presence. Liberal candidate for Lethbridge, Chris Spearman, says he's very disappointed after multiple election signs under his name were defaced and vandalized in Coaldale, and many more were stolen. Various signs along Coaldale streets were found spray painted with swastikas and obscenities. Chris expressed his thoughts on social media saying, quote, "It's upsetting, not just for me, but for what it says about the tone of our politics." He adds, while he understands those who may be angry, the answer isn't destruction, but to use your voice at the ballot box instead. He has notified BCN that 5 signs have been vandalized and 25 were stolen as of Monday. He has submitted a complaint with the RCMP, who are now investigating the case. Defacing and tampering with election signs is punishable under the Criminal Code of Canada under the charge of mischief. Chris Spearman officially launched his campaign as Liberal candidate for the Lethbridge riding on a Saturday. Also in sports, Canada's Brad Jacobs crushed China 11-2 to win bronze at the BKT World Men's Curling Championship. Jacobs, Mark Kennedy, Brett Gallant, and Ben Herbert were determined to play hard even though it was a third-place game.
We wanted to win. We wanted to come out of this thing strong, hold our heads high, get ourselves on the podium, do it for ourselves, do it for the fans. And we were able to do that today. So I'm really proud of us. That's our last, I said it in the last two interviews, that was our last team game this season, the four of us, because our front end's not going to make it to the Players' Championship. We've got a couple spares coming in. So we wanted to end this season with the four of us on a winning note. We were able to do that, and it feels great.
When we return, we'll have more of the top stories from the West with Forum Daily West. A first-of-its-kind program in North America is launching in Lethbridge. The Police Service and Wounded Warriors Canada has launched the Down Regulator Skills Training Program. Deputy Chief Gerald Grobmeyer says the aim is to empower police officers and other first responders who regularly face threats of death or violence with practical interventions to reduce the risk of traumatic injury.
This innovative program focuses on simple, practical interventions that officers can use not only after high-stress call, but during the event itself, as long as it's safe to do so. These grounding techniques help officers stay present in the moment and reduce the risk of injury after a traumatic event. At the heart of the program is the BETTER model, which stands for body, emotions, thoughts, and relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to happen to them, but if they're exposed to it, and even if there's a threat of it, so it doesn't even have to happen, there could be a threat of that as well that could lead to trauma. So these tools will help our police officers be able to stay in the game longer and be able to go to the next call or stay in that call longer. So it is about helping them personally, but it also helps them do their job better as well.
He says it's estimated that over half of civilians will experience at least one potentially traumatic event in their lifetime. In contrast, police officers are exposed to approximately 3 to 5 traumatic events every 6 months. That means officers may experience up to 200% more trauma than the average person. People in Saskatchewan, across Canada, and even in the United States paid tribute on Sunday to the 16 players and staff who died in the 2018 Humboldt Broncos bus crash. The Broncos were on their way to a playoff game in Nipawin on April 6th of 2018 when their bus was hit by a semi that ran through a stop sign. Among those speaking out on Sunday was Liberal leader Mark Carney, who said hockey has always brought Canadians together, but it's how we show up for one another in grief and in strength that defines who we are. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre also posted a tribute on social media saying he was thinking of the families affected. And with that in mind, today is Green Shirt Day in Lethbridge, a day to wear the color that represents the Broncos, but now represents organ and tissue donation in Canada. Here in Lethbridge, Logan Boulet of the Broncos, who passed away following that tragic collision, inspired this noble initiative by donating his organs to save the lives of 6 people. Recently, the city of Lethbridge declared April 7th as Green Shirt Day. Toby Boulet, Logan's father, represents this donor movement.
It's hard to believe that 7 years have slipped by since Logan passed and the Humboldt Bronco tragedy happened. As far as organ donor registrations has happened, the original number of 150,000 people was only from 6 provinces. 4 didn't even have online registration. Now all provinces have online registration, so the accuracy of the counting is much better. It's kind of been pegged around 400,000 now. It's hard to say why everyone's registering at this stage at this time. There's lots of registrations around Green Shirt Day, but at the same time, people register year long. We get messages, people stop us at Safeway, they stop us all over the place. I just got my donor card, I just got my driver's license. But the big thing is that there's about 400,000 people have registered that have been inspired by Logan's story. And each registration, somebody tells something, they tell 3 or 4 people. So that makes 1.6 million Canadians have been told about the Logan Boulet effect and probably will register. And that, to us, keeps us moving forward within this campaign. It makes us feel proud. I'm sure it makes Logan feel proud of us.
According to Stats Canada, less than 25% of people living in Canada are registered donors, yet more are needed. In sports, the Lethbridge Hurricanes have moved on to the second round of the WHL playoffs after beating the Brandon Wheat Kings in 5 games. The Hurricanes jump-started the playoffs to a 3-0 series lead after Brandon avoided a sweep by taking Game 4 6-4. The Canes unleashed 53 shots in Game 5 and Lethbridge winning the game 5-2, eliminating the Wheat Kings. Lethbridge will move on to play in the second round for the first time since 2018, and they will do so against the third-place Calgary Hitmen in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Games 1 and 2 begin on Thursday and Saturday in Calgary, while Lethbridge will host Games 3 and 4 on April 15th and 16th at the visitlethbridge.com arena. Good luck to our Hurricanes, of course. And while we're on the topic of hockey, history was made Sunday as Washington Capitals captain Alex Ovechkin scored his 895th goal of his career to become the NHL's all-time goals leader, surpassing Wayne Gretzky's record of 894 goals.